Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of Games I Speak. I'm Gio.
And I'm Josie.
Mike.
Today we have a new guest, Mike. So Mike, just say something real quick about yourself.
I guess probably was a pretty avid gamer growing up, and then I kind of took a break a little bit after college, and then I came back like as a gamer probably like I don't know within the last 2 years, like because of Spider-Man being on
Yeah,
PS4, and just really wanted to get back into
yeah,
that.
and you're really big into like the tabletop type games like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Mostly it's D&D, but I also play a little bit of Fate Core, which is kind of a much looser game system.
Okay, cool. So today we have a lot of news, a lot of gaming stuff came out this week. So we're gonna kick it off with something that I talked about last week. Josie wasn't here last week, but he's here this week, and I wanted to cover The Last of Us 2. So Josie, you beat the game, correct?
Yes, I beat the game with Mike.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
So both of you got to experience the full game. Now, I first of all, I just want to say that the game was successful. It sold. Here it says it sold 4 million copies, and it got rave reviews from some of the bigger critics. But there was a lot of people, individuals who just said they did not like the game, and there was some review bombing. I don't. Last week I said that I wasn't so sure about the review bombing, but you and me talked about it, and it seems it was review bombed on both sides. There was a bunch of negative reviews given it, and there was a bunch of positive reviews given to it. So that just makes those user scores on Metacritic unreliable, in my opinion. So I ended up buying the game too, so that I could play it and I could have a better opinion of the game as well. So um, why don't you start and let us know what you thought of the game?
So I played the game. It took me about 26 hours to complete the game, and that's like with attempting to collect a lot of items. Like there's a lot of time spent, exploring and looking around the world. Uh, First of all, I think I need to clear the air that I did not have high expectations for this game.
Okay.
Coming from The Last of Us 1, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic, in spite of what I felt to be a clunky gameplay.
Hmm.
But the story and the characters were just so incredibly well done that, like, it's one of my favorite games.
Yes. Yeah.
And so the ending of that game, I just didn't see any need to continue it. And even Naughty Dog back in the day, when the game had gotten critical acclaim, a lot of conversation was like, "Well, is there going to be a sequel?" And they're like, "No, we don't need to revisit this. It ended so well."
And they actually, one of their developers actually said recently that they didn't even. I mean, they were struggling with it, making it anyways, because a lot of them felt that way. That so
Yeah. So I mean, in that regard, I would have to agree. So, so I was already coming into the game guarded,
yes,
to say the least. I was reluctant, and I didn't think that it was necessary.
yeah.
After playing the game, I don't think you want to give a full review, and I don't think you want to do spoilers.
No, no, no,
But
no,
after
not right
the game,
now.
I can pardon?
No, not right now. There's too many
Yeah,
people
I,
still
I
playing
can
the
I
game.
can conclude, in my own opinion,
Yeah,
that the game didn't need to exist.
yeah,
So in that regard, like if I weren't myself, like someone like me talked to me before I even purchased the game and was like, "No, you don't need to play it," I wouldn't even buy it. That's how I feel about the game.
yes. And I saw similar sentiments from people who were like, "Why did I even play this game?" Like, now,
Well, I wanted to give it a fair shake.
yes,
I
yeah,
wanted to give it a chance.
yeah,
Naughty Dog has been known to do some great things. Um, and I enjoy the Uncharted series for the most part. Actually, for not actually, it's more like 2 out of 4.
Yeah.
But still, yeah. I mean, how about you, Mike? What do you think?
I would say I'm probably a bigger fan of Naughty Dog. I'm not as heavily as critical in regards to the games that they put out. I've enjoyed, by and large, most of the Uncharted series. I actually haven't played the Lost Legends yet, or Legacy.
Lost Legacy.
Yeah, I haven't played that yet. But I enjoyed all of the games. Like I definitely like some of the Uncharted's more, but yeah, in general, I like the Uncharted games. Last of Us, I love the story and the characters, much like Josie does. But the major issue, I guess, for me was like gameplay. Again, it's just that it kind of holds itself as like kind of a horror game where you kind of have to stealth around to avoid things. But like I feel like it really rewards people who just like go cowboy in that game instead. And I don't know if that's just because of the way that it's set up or whatever, but and far more geared to stealth than I am to cowboying up, and I feel like I'm punished for trying to play the game the way it's supposed to be played.
That's actually an excellent point. Now I didn't get as far in the game. Obviously, you two beat it. I got I'm on the main mission now. So I got past all the beginning part, which I'm not going to say anything because that's very spoiler heavy territory there. But yes, I have to agree 100% with you, Mike. If you stealth, the gameplay becomes extremely slow and tedious. And if you make one mistake, you're punished severely for it. Now, that being said, I stealth as much as possible because that's how I like to play the game. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
there were cases where I was trying to stealth and play properly, and I was like, "What the hell? I keep dying." And so I just came out guns blazing to finish those areas because, like you said, I was punished for stealthing. And so, yeah, that was definitely an issue with the game. What do you think, Josie?
You're not alone. You're not alone. I think that definitely happened more often than not, to be honest. And there is, I think, some positives out of the way. I think the game looks incredible.
Oh yeah.
It's a beautiful, gorgeous game, with an amazing sense of detail to just not the animations of the characters, but also to the placement of the level layout.
Yeah.
It works incredibly well in that regard.
Yes.
But in terms of gameplay, I do feel like it was a little bit clunky. And then the stealth, like I'll be stealthing through an area, and then because the game wants you to be in a combat zone in a specific area, example, me moving through a level,
Mm-hmm.
and then I get to a specific area where I can expect enemies or not, it depends. But then like I'll be stealthing through, and you can go ahead and press and hold R1 in order to kind of like do the audible like radar type
Yeah.
view. Enemies will suddenly appear very close to your position when you get past a certain threshold.
Yes.
And I found that to take me out consistently.
Yeah.
Mike, I know you were you saw that.
It was equally frustrating because there would be times where you anticipated, like you said, and you would be able to try to use that listening radar thing beforehand, and it wouldn't show anyone, and so you would drop down in the area, and then you would be surrounded by different things. And I was like, I don't understand how 10 feet of vertical space accounts for loss of hearing.
Yeah, and that happens often, unfortunately. And then like there was some weird removals, like before in the first Last of Us. So just so you know, I played the first Last of Us first, a week before The Last of Us 2 came out.
Yes.
And then the Left Behind DLC, we played it before The Last of Us 2 actually arrived. And in the first Last of Us, you're able to go ahead and pick up a brick or a glass bottle, and
Yes.
then you can switch between the two if you find another brick or bottle.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, you don't. You actually have to throw that brick or bottle away.
You're only
You
allowed
can't
to
do
have
it
one.
stealthily.
Yeah.
Pardon?
You're only allowed to have one.
You've always been able to. You've always been limited to one, but at the same time, you were always able to swap them out easily. Like
Yeah.
you could just hit triangle and you would drop the bottle for the brick or whatever. Here, you have to get rid of the actual thing. You have to like throw it. And if you're in a stealth mode, you can't really just throw a bottle on the ground to pick up a brick because it's
No, they're
more
gonna kill you.
useful to you. It just seemed nonsensical to do that.
And then in
Yeah.
terms of skill trees, in the previous game, you were able to pick and choose what skills you wanted to unlock with supplements that you acquire throughout the game. In this one, they actually have specific skill trees, or I like to say skill lines. And unfortunately, they have prerequisites to specific unlockable skills that you may want over another skill that you're forced to unlock, wasting precious supplements. So I actually felt like the skills, how they expanded them was kind of cool,
Mhm.
but how they narrowed down the focus so that you were required to unlock certain skills before you unlock the ones that you actually do want.
Yeah.
A weird change from the previous game.
Yeah, and like a good example of what you're talking about is like Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you open up the skill thing, and it's like you can just pick and choose what you want, which was awesome. Yeah, so yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Now, what did you all think of the crafting system?
Mike?
The crafting system I thought was reasonably balanced. I don't like kind of like what Josie was saying in regards to the skill trees. Like I would prefer the ability to pick to kind of upgrade your crafting earlier than having to like select other things. The skill tree was really frustrating for me, especially kind of tying it back to the radar thing is they heavily nerfed the radar from the first game to this game. Like the fidelity of what you hear is a lot lower. And I kept telling Josie throughout the gameplay, I was like, well, probably it'll get clearer as we like use up the skill tree for it. And it doesn't, which is even more frustrating.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell what they are when you're in that stealth mode.
Yeah, there's some like cool new things that you can craft. I like I like the there's a what is it like a kind of a proximity mine thing, but even that has its problems as Josie was running into quite frequently.
So this leads into the weird changes that they've made in terms of the skill trees and the crafting and stuff like that. Crafting is fine. And I especially like the crafting table when you're able to upgrade your weapons.
Yeah.
I think the attention to detail they did there was impressive.
Yeah.
And like I actually liked seeing the characters like manipulate their weapons and upgrade them like visually in the game.
Yeah.
That being said, you do not have the shrapnel grenade or what's it called? Shrapnel projectile. I forget what it's called in the first game for Ellie at the very least.
Yeah.
And that I found to be also weird. I didn't like that. She only has a Molotov cocktail as well as like some kind of stun grenade, which I barely used. I mean, it was effective when I needed to use it. Don't get me wrong in terms of actually stunning people, but it doesn't kill people.
Yes.
And then the proximity mine, which the proximity mine, you really need to use that in stealth mode, because if you even move too quickly after setting the proximity mine, you yourself are able to set it off.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I did unfortunately multiple times.
Lesson learned.
But another positive to be said, and this is something that I didn't do. So like my grading of the game is a little skewed. is that there's a lot of accessibility options so that you can kind of cater the game to your play style.
Yes.
And they should be applauded for that. They actually spent a good chunk of resources in order to make it very widely accessible to people, which I think is amazing.
Yes.
But myself, I prefer to play a game, any game really, on the basic balanced difficulty that developers expect normal people to play it on.
Yes.
Without any kind of changes, aside from maybe camera control changes. Sometimes they have it like a pilot control, and
Yes.
I need to revert that,
Yeah.
or invert that. Pardon.
Yeah, and
So
no, I was just gonna say, like, you bring up a good point about the accessibility. So I've said it many times, I'm a web developer, but like, there's so many things in this world that we take for granted, and we don't design them with accessibility in mind. So there's a large group of people that are disabled, hearing impaired, vision impaired, that the world around them is totally different, and they can't experience the same things we can. And it's good to see game developers kind of go all out with accessibility, because let me tell you, it's hard for developers to do accessibility because we take those things for granted. When we're developing things, we don't know what it feels like to not be able to hear. We don't know so they have to develop tools. It's a lot of work, and yeah, I do commend them.
It's a lot of research.
It's a lot of research, and I do commend them for doing it. And I think that there should be like a case study done on this game as far as accessibility, and other developers should use it as an example.
Yes.
So that's a great point that you brought up. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you guys. Obviously, I haven't finished the game, so I haven't rendered my final opinion, but I will say that, not every sequel is looked upon favorably, and it's just a part of the gaming landscape, and that's just how it is. And I don't want to diminish anyone's opinion of the game. I think we all have valid opinions, and they should all be respected. So that's my stance on the game.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think and I might be speaking for Mike, but Mike, you can go ahead and come in when you want. But vote with your dollar.
Yes. Yeah. Vote with your dollar.
Yeah, absolutely. You should definitely, if you don't like some of the decisions that were made that you read about, then yeah, you don't have to get this game.
Yeah.
If you're really curious about the expansion of the world, you can definitely do that too.
Yeah.
To speak to what Josie was saying earlier, I kind of was in the same boat when I finished The Last of Us, the first one. I was like, okay, yeah, that was a great story. We don't need to revisit it. And then when they said that they were, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna crap on anyone trying to play through it, but like I was like, I don't know why they're doing this. And then when I heard like what they were trying to tell with it, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That this is a story where you could tell that in. So maybe.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to see the game and see how it worked, and how they treated all of the characters.
Yes. Exactly. And I think that's why a lot of people bought the game. I mean, like I said, it was successful. They sold a lot of copies, and a lot of people just wanted to see for themselves. So.
I mean, check it out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I put my money where my mouth is.
That's a giant box, my friend.
It doesn't even fit in the entire frame.
It doesn't even fit the screen.
All right. Well, with all that being said, I think we did a good job of covering that. So let's move on.